The way I am understanding this looks like quite technical and also niche. So how do you manage when it comes to talking to customers, talking to investors, talking to stakeholders?
It's quite technical when it comes to all the algorithms that interpret the data. I would say that it's so niche because every 6th to 7th couple struggles to conceive. It really depends on who and how open your friends' family are for people to see how many it is. Because oftentimes I get the feedback, but that's especially from investors, but that's a niche market. And then we're like, no, it's not. Maybe the people just don't open up that they're doing IVF because they're embarrassed. And many people are. Very few couples share fertility struggles openly or even with their family and friends. I personally know the majority of my friends who went through fertility diagnostics and treatment did not share it with their family, at least not at first. Later, when they were pregnant, they did. But as long as that's something you haven't overcome, that's a difficult subject to discuss. So yeah, the discussion with investors is tough because they don't think it's relevant enough. It's not a big enough problem to solve. It's a different story when you talk to an investor who has had IVF, has done IVF him or herself, or has had fertility problems themselves. That's when they know how emotional the struggle is and how much willing couples going through this are willing to spend money on something that helps them. So it's a lot like in one of the questions you previously asked, you said it's personal, and it is very personal. And it's sometimes also a very personal conversation with investors, depending on whether they are personally attached to the topic because of their experience or not.
Thank you. Thank you for adding that, because I think even as a man, I might be biased. I might be totally turned off from those kind of conversations. But then again, people don't talk about this. That's also another thing.
But that's a good thing you're mentioning. So as a man, have you, and let me just ask you this, have any of your friends ever brought the issue?
Very occasionally, yes. I think I can pinpoint 1 or 2, but not more than that. But I know many people who have struggled with fertility, but not directly through them.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I can imagine that if it's difficult to really speak in a casual conversation, it can be very difficult to really ask for help or really open up around that. And I'm sure that stress, that holding that inside also makes it more difficult for you to...
Yeah, that's the interesting thing. And the thing that I really like is that as soon as you open up, or as soon as I open up and talk about fertility struggles and my personal fertility struggles in public, all of a sudden other people open up as well. And they're like, yeah, I've also seen this doctor and he couldn't help me. Or, yes, I've also had 2 miscarriages, but actually I don't like to talk about it often. But, if you've gone through the same experience, then obviously I'm happy to share, and they're happy to talk to somebody else who can relate.
Yeah. And I think this is one thing with leadership and human communication as well, that the more we open, it looks difficult, it looks embarrassing at times, but it increases trust. It builds a relationship even when there was none before.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's the beauty of what we do.